Welcome back to another esports edition of our Counter-Strike Go breakdown. This is Hold the Door DFS at FSI, Fantasy Sports Insight. I'm bringing you another breakdown of our slate. It is a little bit later tonight, just on the weekend, having some things going on. So we are going to start out with Complexity and Big tomorrow. Complexity coming in at around minus 150 favorite. I think that's kind of short for them. I think the way they're playing, I think they should probably be favored a little bit more. But we do know that Big has also been playing well, so I think that figures into the odds makers putting this pretty close. So just starting out in this game, Config is probably my number one target on the entire slate, even at 8,800. Caserado, the other higher expensive player, I think is in a good spot, but I also think his teammates are playing pretty similar to him at a cheaper price if you're not going to use 3 Furia, and we'll talk about that game later on. But Complexity here, Config, Blame F, those are my two favorite targets, and then one of my favorite values of the entire slate is Poison with the AWP. Has continued to put up back-to-back really solid games at a really discounted price tag. So I think those three are all in play. I don't know if it turns out something like it did today, where Big gets another really high-scoring matchup and takes it all the way to 3 maps. You could potentially play all 3, but I think you can also consider playing Searson, who had not as great of a day today compared to Tabson. We know has seen, a 93-point game and over 100. I don't think you can just realistically expect those results to continue, especially now with a more of an increased price tag as an underdog here. I just think his price is too close to Blame F if you consider pivoting in cash. It just doesn't seem like a spot that I will probably do that. Obo, our 16-year-old, is always in play at 7,200, but I like Poison better at 6,200. I think that is the clear best, one of the best values on the slate. So let's move over to Mad Lions and Mouse Sports. Probably teams that no one has any confidence in at this point, but I think we kind of have to erase some of that from our memory when they have to play against each other, and that might mean that somebody has to succeed here. So, and we do have Mouse coming in as the minus 180 favorite. We have Ropes at 8,600, Frozen at 7,800, Wazik at 6,600. So I think, and I never consider Kerrigan or Chris J. Kerrigan being their IGL. Just they're both pretty bad, I think, in terms of DFS more than maybe actual CSGO play in their roles. But Ropes is kind of fallen into a category for me where I would prefer Blame F and Config over him, even though they're a smaller underdog or a smaller favorite. I do think he's in play, but I think you can go down to Frozen or Wazik. Wazik, especially him and Poison, are my two favorite values of the slate. I think they are just way too cheap for their role and price tag. Wazik is not performing that much worse than Ropes and Frozen over the 3-month sample, the 1-month sample, or the 6-month sample. I think the longer term you get, the more Ropes kind of extends his lead on the rest of the group. But Wazik had a really good road to Rio, and I think just as a team, once they start rebounding, he will be part of that. On Mad Lions' side, this is what's really interesting, to see how the prices continue to roll for them. Asilian being their IGL is the cheapest on the slate. Has not been that great. Acor on the AWP had a really, really good first map. I don't remember how he finished out, but somebody that, you could consider, but again, 6,800, I prefer him to be cheaper as the underdog here. Bubsky at 7,600, I think is actually kind of underpriced, especially if this game is close or Mad Lions finds their form really quick here against a struggling Mouse team. Sush, I liked better when he was priced below Bubsky, because I thought he was closer to him in talent and in underlying numbers and how they performed. But now with like a $800 price discrepancy between them as an underdog, I'm probably just passing on him. So my favorite targets from this game would be Wazik, Frozen, and possibly Acor or Bubsky if you are taking the underdog here. All right, moving on to our last game with Furia and Chaos. Furia coming in as the biggest slate of the favorite, and I think we'll have the three chalkiest plays because I do think the pricing that I mentioned earlier with some of the best values on the slate will allow you to play all three guys that you want from this game. So Quesarado, who's actually been performing probably the worst of the three. He's probably been a little bit more consistent than Yuri, but has not had the ceiling game that we've seen from him in the past. That's been basically all Henny lately, clutching with AWP, really avoiding a lot of deaths till the end. And in DFS, you're going to gain value other than kills and deaths in two ways. And one is the first kills, which favor the AWPs. And it favors aggressive fraggers too, like Quesarado and Nico and some of those guys that, when they have even the pistol, they're out there, trying to be front in line, or Hunter might be a better example than Nico. But I think Henny is way too cheap at 7,400. He's been performing the best of the three lately, and he's the cheapest. So I think he will be, along with Poison and Wazik, probably the chalkiest plays of the entire slate. But I wouldn't consider fading them in cash. I think Henny, especially at 7,400, is a really good captain viable spot because we feel really confident in Furia here. So I think his floor is really high, especially if they sweep. And then Yuri and Quesarado would be my other two favorite options. So I think if you want to get really contrarian here and trying to target Chaos, Zeppa and Steel would be my two targets that I would look for. And I think in Showdown, I haven't looked at the build exactly yet, but typically in the past, there's always been a path to getting those top three, which would probably require using Henny and Yuri and captain, and then using Quesarado, and then probably choosing your next Chaos player. And hopefully that it's not real obvious to just play like if Zeppa fits. I'll have to take a peek, but I doubt he does fit in that spot for Showdown, because that'd be basically allowing you to play the top four players. But I really wouldn't prioritize paying up for anybody on Chaos here. I don't think Zeppa is going to match any of those three. So if you had to play Zeppa, but you had to fade Henny, I wouldn't do it, so just take in mind in that. And sometimes it's better, there's a lot of people chopping Showdown GPPs. Just take the chalk. I mean, unless you want to be super contrarian, there is a wide range of options, but I do think the optimal lineups have been pretty chalky in the long run here. So I don't think it's really that advantageous to get overly cute and contrarian with the Showdown lineups. So again, just to kind of review my favorite plays of the slate, now that we have everybody pulled up: Quesarado, Config, Blameth, Yuri, Henny, and then my two favorite values are Wazik and Poison. So I think using a combination of those 4 or 5 players, it should be pretty easy to build an optimal cash lineup tomorrow, which can always be good and bad. If everything feels chalky, then you're probably a 1v1. That's going to determine if you're doubling up or not. It's going to determine that in a head-to-head matchup. So I think in GPP, I think you definitely be maybe a little bit more creative with who's at your captain role, and maybe leverage one of the games. Maybe leverage Mad Lions against Mouse. That would be, or kind of try to ride out the Tabson streak and pair him with Searson, and then just fade complexity altogether and play 3 Furia, play 2 big, and then play maybe Wazik or something from Mouse. So I think that would be a path that most will take. I do think tomorrow will be a 3-2-1 or a 3-3 stack game, where definitely people will be using 3 Furia in cash, which I think is definitely clearly the best option. So Check us out. We did have one of our members that's in our free esports Discord channel have a takedown on the late slate today, which was awesome to see. I post the core plays for all 3 slates, both main slates and showdown, and it's completely free. You feel free to shoot out and ask me any questions. Also hoping to get, live before some of these locks too for you guys to hop on and just answer questions over YouTube Live. So again, check us out at fsidfs.com. Click on subscription plans, sign up for a free month of VIP, and that will get you access into all of our free channels and all of them that are included in that VIP, which is esports. All right, let's make some cash on Sunday.